And it's actually it originates in Turkey, and then it was modified in Greece. But if you see it a lot in Israel, they sell them in all the bakeries and if you go to the marketplace, it's all over the place, and it tastes delicious. And yeah, so it's a really beautiful tasting food. And the thing is, a lot of people think, oh my gosh, it looks so complicated, I don't know how to make it, there's too many ingredients. So tonight I'm going to show you how to make it that is easy and fun, and it's going to taste delicious. You guys ready? Okay, so the first thing we're going to be doing is making sure you have a pot, a little small pot ready, because we are going to boil a few ingredients together. And this is going to be the nice juice or liquid that we are going to pour over the baklava once it's made and baked, okay? So this is the last thing. But we're gonna boil it now to put all the ingredients together, so that way it becomes like a really nice syrup. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we are going to take a cup, and we are going to take, this is a cup, or this is a half a cup, but you could do 2 of these. We are going to take a cup of sugar. The first thing we're gonna do is a cup of sugar, we're gonna put it into the pot. Okay, so I'm going to use actually the other cup because it's easier to dish out of this thing. So I'm going to take a cup of sugar and put it inside. Okay. And then I'm going to take another half. There we go. And put it inside. So far I put 1 cup of sugar. You see? So 1 cup of sugar, which we're going to boil on the stove in a few minutes. Okay, the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna use honey. It's a cute one, it's a beer. And we are going to be pouring in a cup of honey. So remember, this is actually half a cup. I'm using this one because it's a bit harder to use the bigger one. So I'm using this one. So I'm doing 2 of these, which is equals to 1 cup. Okay, so 1 cup of honey, and we are going to measure. There we go. I'm gonna pour it inside. Okay, and then I'm going to put in the other half, which is going to be, I fill it to the top, which is going to equal to 1 cup of honey. This looks really good. It reminds us of Rosh Hashanah coming back again. So for all those people who missed out, it's actually a really good Rosh Hashanah recipe, but we didn't have a proper Rosh Hashanah this year, so we're going to keep making these things. Okay, so now we did 1 cup of sugar, 1 cup of honey, okay, so far. So I'm going to show you my pot. See how it looks? Beautiful. Again. Here we go. Okay. And then we're going to do is we're going to put in 3/4 of a cup of water. Okay. So I'm just going to take a spoon just to take out the rest of the honey in here, because it didn't all come out. Okay. I'm taking all the rest of the honey out because honey is yum, but it sticks to everything. So let's make sure all the honey is out of the cup. There we go. And then I'm going to take from the top, I'm doing half a cup of water and another quarter, which is 3/4 of a cup. So I'm putting.
So I want to know, how big is that thing of honey? How many grams or?
Oh, okay. So this one is 340 grams.
So it's almost the whole bottle.
So it's almost there. There's probably like
30 grams.
Yeah. 40 grams left. Probably 40 grams left. Okay. And then I'm putting in 1/4 cup. Okay, so let me just explain to you one more time. If you can look inside. So again, 1 cup of sugar, 1 cup of honey. Now, so you want to know what kind of sugar? So I'm using caster sugar, but you can use regular sugar, is fine too. Any sugar is fine, doesn't make a difference for this, because we're going to boil it anyways. So we're doing 3/4 cups of water, a cup of honey, and a cup of sugar. Okay, you can see, look, it looks like it's bubbling already. Now we're going to be taking our tablespoon over here, and we're going to be putting 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. Okay, so I freshly squeezed. I mean, you can see there's a few pips in it, but I'm going to not put that in. And I'm going to be taking 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. So if you have a lemon, you could squeeze it out or use lemon juice. Yeah. Okay, so you see that? I did 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. And the lemon juice gives it a really, really nice taste. It brings up the honey and the sugar, combines really, really nicely. Now, the last thing we do is you put 2 tablespoons of rose water. What I was telling you before, I don't know if you saw it, it was optional. Why? So the whole thing is rose water is actually, as you know, like Turkish Delight has rose water, Malabi, there's all these different things that are Turkish dishes that they use rose water. Now, not everyone likes rose water. It's something that you need to acquire taste for. So it's not something that everyone likes. I'm not using it tonight because my kids want it and they don't like rose water. But I'm just letting you know that you can buy kosher rose water at Kosher Kingdom. Probably at Kraus also they sell kosher rose water. So what you do next is after you do the lemon juice, you put in 2 tablespoons of rose water, okay? So if you're making it now, just remember 2 tablespoons of rose water. Now, if you don't like the consistency of rose water and you think it's a little bit too strong, you can use 1 tablespoon. So when I did it last time, I used half. I used 1 tablespoon, okay? So again, I'm going to explain to you one more time. We did 1 cup of sugar, 1 cup of honey, 3/4 cup of water, 3 tablespoons of lemon juice, and again, the optional is to put 2 tablespoons of rose water. Okay, so I'm taking my beautiful mixing stick and I'm going to be putting my pot on the stovetop and we're going to mix it so it becomes a nice syrup, because obviously you could see it's all separated. So we're going to put it together. Okay. So I'm turning on my fire, turning on my stove. Okay. And I'm putting it over. And we don't put it on too high of a flame because obviously we don't want it to burn it. But we are going to take this. Can you show them inside? So you can see what I'm doing. I'm mixing it nicely together so it turns into a really good syrup. Okay. So you got to mix it for at least a few 30 seconds and then let it sit and boil. It needs to be boiled for about 2 to 3 minutes. It takes about 2 to 3 minutes to really get the syrup melted in together. Okay, so it becomes like a really, really nice syrup. If you could look at it now.
Do you want it to get to boiling point?
Yes, so for those people you want it to get to boiling point, and once it hits boiling point, then it's ready to be put on the side to cool down. While you're waiting for a few minutes, it's going to take probably 2 or 3 minutes to turn on your oven to 170. Okay. So for those people who have fan force, turn it 170. For people who don't have fan force, put it to 175. So I'm going to turn my oven on now. Okay. While I'm waiting. And I'm putting my oven on to 170. Okay. So if you see, it's going to take a few minutes to boil. So we're just gonna wait a minute and let it.
See how good the camera is.
Yeah, it's not boiling yet, but we're giving it a minute. In the meantime, you could stir it a little bit.
Put it on the top one.
Let's make it faster. Okay, could do that. Changing the fire. So I'm gonna put it on high first, and then I'll make it lower. Okay. So obviously it takes time to boil.
Want to do something else in the meanwhile?
So yeah, so in the meanwhile, I am going to be coming back over here and we're going to go back and I'm going to show you what we're going to be doing with our cupcake, our pastry. Sorry, our phyllo pastry, not puff, we're doing phyllo sheets, okay? So this is what I'm using. I'm using these phyllo sheets.
Hold on, let's zoom in.
You could buy this at Kraus, you could buy it at Kohl's or Kosher Kingdom or Tempo. They all have these sheets. They're called phyllo sheets. So what people ask about puff pastry is much thicker. Phyllo sheets are big. I'm calling it phyllo sheets. Phyllo sheets or phyllo, I don't know, everyone calls it different names, but it's quite thin. So that's what we want because we need to crunch. Okay. So you can look what I'm doing. And now before it's gonna boil, I'm just gonna check on it again to make sure. Up, it's starting to boil. Okay, so come back.
Yes, boss.
Come back. But we have to be careful not to overdo it, or else it's gonna burn, and we don't want to burn it. Okay. So now it was on boiling point, and then I mixed it. Just give it one more minute. You can see it's starting to bubble. You see it bubbling? There you go. It's going to boil point. Okay, and then I'm gonna mix it in 1 second. I'm gonna mix it. Okay. So I'm just gonna show you the consistency, how it needs to look. Whoops, careful. It's very hot. Okay. Look at it again. Okay, so I'm gonna let it boil one more time and then I'm gonna turn it off. Okay, so you could see how it's going to boiling point, and then I'm gonna turn it off just to make sure that it's mixed really well. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay. I'm gonna mix it. Okay, now this is how it's supposed to look. So if you can look at it, I don't know if you can see the color, but it's gone a bit brownish, like sort of like a caramelized. I don't know if you could see it on the thing. Okay, but if you, just to show you how it's supposed to look, it's supposed to have sort of like a little bit of a darker caramelized look, okay? So that's how you know it's ready. So then I'm putting it on the side to cool. Okay, so I put it on the side to cool. Obviously it took about 3 to 4 minutes. And then we're gonna start now with the phyllo sheet. So I'm using a disposable pan. You can use any pan you want. It's 9 by 13. I don't know what's in Australia, but 9 by 13 inches. I'm not sure centimeters, but you guys can figure it out. But use this kind of size pan, which is good. And then I'm putting it on to my phyllo sheets. Why am I doing that? Because I need to cut it out so it actually fits inside, or it's not gonna fit inside. Sorry guys, Ellie, make this up. Shannon's gonna post, okay? Okay, so I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut it. Can you see what I'm doing?
No, 1 second.
I'm cutting this up. Can you see? I cut it. 1 second. Make sure I cut it properly. Okay. So if you see, I cut this side and that side because we're not going to be using that. Okay, we're only using the middle.
So you use a whole bunch of pieces.
So you're only using these pieces inside for the inside, okay? I'm just cutting it straight so it looks straight. Okay. So the way it works is that this is how we're going to start. Everyone make sure you have a brush and you have oil. Now you could use canola oil or almond oil, which is probably better. You can use vegetable oil too, it works too, okay? Just as well. So I'm going to be using canola oil over here. And what we're going to do is we need to start off with putting 6 phyllo sheets. So we put in, first we start off with one, the first one. Hold on, just making sure. Okay. So we're putting in the first phyllo sheet. There's 2 stuck here, so you just got to be careful that you're doing one at a time. Can you see? Okay, so you put the first one in. So the way it works is you put one, okay, and then you put the second one, okay. So every 2 sheets, you need to take your egg brush and put oil in it. Can you show them what I'm doing? Yeah. And you're oiling. You're basically basing the phyllo sheets.
Every 2.
Every 2 with oil. So we're gonna go. Whoops. We're going to do 1 dry, 1 wet, 1 dry, 1 wet, till we hit 6. Okay. So we do 1 dry, 1 wet. So that's 2. Then we do 3, 1 dry, 4, We're gonna oil this one. Okay, 4, so put oil on it. Okay, base it, 4. And then we're gonna put 5. 5. And they're gonna put 6. 6, and then 6, we base it with oil, okay? Now, this is the beginning of how we start with the phyllo sheets. Now what we're gonna do is we're going to make the filling that goes inside the baklava, okay? So follow again. We do 1, 1, 2, the second one we put oil. 3, 4, the fourth one we put oil. 5, 6, we put oil, okay? So every other one we're putting oil. Okay, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna have a break from this and we're gonna actually make now the inside that goes into the baklava. Anyone have questions?
You put them in the chat if you do, and I'll put them to Sarah.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're starting with the inside, okay? So I'm going to be measuring. So we're gonna, if you can see over here, this is already crushed almonds. So for those people who have fresh almonds, you just put this in your mix master or in your
Blender.
Your blender, and then blend your almonds and your walnuts. Okay. So what I'm going to do is we're going to use you can use between 1 cup or 1.5 cups of almonds, and then the same thing with the walnuts. You can use 1 cup to 1.5 cups. Okay. So I'm going to use 1 cup because I did it last time and the cup was perfect. So depends on how thick you want it, but I'm going to do 1 cup. Okay. So I'm going to first start off with the almonds. I'm going to put it inside. Okay. So this is 1/2 cup. Just making sure that we fill it up properly. And here's another 1/2 cup. So I'm doing 1 cup of almonds, and then I'm putting 1 cup of walnuts. 1, 2. Okay, so far we did 1 cup of almonds, 1 cup of walnuts. Can you see that? And then we're gonna put 2 tablespoons of sugar. Okay, so here's the sugar. I'm putting 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons. Here, so you can see. So we got the cup of almonds, 1 cup of walnuts, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and then we're gonna put 2 tablespoons of ground cardamom. Okay. So here's cardamom. So I'm gonna be putting it inside. We're gonna be this is how it looks. 2 tablespoons of cardamom. Okay, I'm just gonna show it to you. Here we go. And then for those people who, as I said before about the rose water, you could add 2 tablespoons of rose water into this. So we put 2 tablespoons of rose water in the first mixture, which we used on the stove, and you could put 2 tablespoons of rose water in this. I'm not going to use rose water, as I said. I don't want, my kids don't like it, but I'm going to not use it today. But you can use it in yours if you'd like, because that's really the real Turkish style is using rose water. Okay, so I'm just
What's that now?
Okay, the last thing we have to put inside is 1 tablespoon of cinnamon. Okay, so let's go through it again. Sorry, let's go through it again. We have 1 cup of almonds, 1 cup of walnuts. Now, again, you can use 1.5 cups if you want, if you like it thicker. I use 2 tablespoons of sugar, 2 tablespoons of cardamom, 1 tablespoon of cinnamon, and if you like, you can put 2 tablespoons of rose water.
Is it caster sugar or normal sugar?
I use caster sugar.
Can you use normal?
You can use normal sugar, that's fine.
Thank you, Henry.
It's just finer. Okay.
She said if you leave out the rose water, is it missing out on liquid in the recipe?
No, so it's not missing out on liquid in the recipe. The rose water actually just gives it taste. Sort of just gives it that potent rose water taste, but it has nothing to do with it because this is sort of just the filling. So it's a good question. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is now, I'm going to take a spoon and I'm just gonna mix it. Okay, so I'm just mixing it together because obviously we want to make sure that all the spices go through the yummy nuts. And that way, when we put it inside our baklava phyllo dough thing, it's gonna spread out nicely, okay? So mixing it for a minute, making sure that it looks nice. I already got cut like crushed almonds, but you could ground it yourself. So it's basically called ground almonds or ground walnuts. Okay, so let's go back to our baklava. So we did 6 phyllo sheets. Remember how we did 1, and then the second one we did with oil. The third one, the fourth one we did with oil, the fifth and the sixth one we did oil. Now what we're gonna do is we're going to take our tablespoon over here, and we're gonna put 4 tablespoons of mixture, spread it around. I'm just gonna wash this out so that, I'm just gonna wash it so that doesn't stick. Okay, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take, can everyone look?
Hold on.
I'm going to spread it all around, so I'm doing 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, we did 4. So now what we're gonna do is we are going to do now 4 phyllo sheets, okay? So we're gonna do, again, we're gonna put 1 down, okay? And we're going to take, we'll do 1, and then we'll do the second one. So every other one, 2. So now we're gonna take our brush and we are going to brush the sheet with oil. Okay, so we did 1 and then this is the second one. Make sure it has enough oil on it. Okay, and then we're going to put on, so 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so remember every other one we do oil. So put it on top. Now we take the oil and we spread it again. Okay, and then after we spread the oil on the 4th one, we are going to put the rest of the mixture on. Okay, the rest of the mixture we are going to put on. So you ready? So I'm going to take the mixture. I'm going to use a tablespoon and I'm going to pour, actually not pour, sorry. I'm spreading it. Okay, spreading the rest of the mixture on the 4th one that we did. So we did 6, we put 4 tablespoons, we did 4, and then we're putting, I'll pour it on. Okay, so we're just gonna make sure you spread it really nicely, evenly through the
Do you have a
whole
question? Yeah. Do you have to cover the phyllo so it doesn't break?
Cover, what do you mean cover the phyllo?
No.
Would you ask if we should cover the phyllo so it doesn't break?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure what that means.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure what she means, but you'll watch and you mean covered afterwards? So wait, watch this and then I'll explain to you, okay? So now what we do is we put the rest of the sheets on, okay? So we start off with, hold on, what happened to the sheet? Okay, is up anyone? Okay, we do 1, so now put another one on, put 1, remember how we did it before? Okay, 2, so the second one, we have to put more oil on. So it's pretty much basically.
Oh, so it doesn't dry out, she means.
Yes. What do you say? Did she ask if I put a, what she asked?
Just to stop the phyllo from drying out while you prepare, put a damp wet towel over the phyllo.
You don't have to do that, but if you prefer doing that, you can.
Yours is not drying out?
No, mine's not drying out. And that's why you're putting the oil, because the oil actually makes sure that it doesn't dry out. Okay. Okay, so we put 1, 2, 3. Okay, so just make sure it's 6, 4. 4, so the 4th one we put more oil. So the way it works is it's going 6, 4, and 6, okay? So we do 6 phyllo sheets. Then we put in the 4 tablespoons of mixture, and then we do 4 and put the rest, and then we do 6. Okay, so that's number 4. And then we do 5, just making sure, because obviously you could see it's very thin, so we've got to make sure that it's on 5. And the last one is 6. Okay, I'll use this one. Okay, 6th one, that's the 6th one. And then the 6th one, you baste the whole thing, make sure it's basted really well with the rest of the oil.
The whole oil?
Not the whole oil, but as much oil as you can, so that way it doesn't
Dry out.
and just making sure that it sits properly. So then once you finish basting it, you put it in the oven for 35 minutes. But before we put it in the oven, we have to cut it now, okay?
What about that?
So well, I'll tell you afterwards. So what we're gonna do is we're going to finish putting oil over it, and then we're going to cut it now. So usually you cut your cakes and cookies, well, not cookies, but your cakes and whatever you make, you normally cut it babka, you cut it afterwards, but this you actually cut before. So we're gonna cut it diagonally, okay? And then once it's baked, after 35 minutes, hold on, I'm just gonna make sure it's sitting properly. After 35 minutes, once it's baked, then you pour over the beautiful syrup that we made that goes over, okay? So that's done last. Okay. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to make sure it's fully, because obviously that we don't wanna make sure anything's dry. Okay. So I'm going to do now is I'm just going to make sure that we got everything done, and then we can start. Okay. So we're gonna cut it, and then yeah. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to cut it diagonally. Okay. So you could watch now. So I'm gonna cut it like this.
Get a good knife.
So you got to make sure you have a very sharp knife. Okay. You see that I'm doing diagonally? Just careful if you could see. So when someone asked about it getting dry, just got to make sure you put enough oil in it on the actual phyllo dough so that it doesn't, see that? And then what we'll do is we're going to cut it the other way. Okay. So I'm just going to cut it from this side. Just don't, it's this side's the hardest part to do actually. So we got to hold it. Did you see that? It starts moving, so we got to be very, very careful when we cut it that it stays that way. Okay, so we keep going till we finish it all. There we go. You could have the pieces bigger or smaller. Give them a bit big. Hold on. Let's watch it. Oops. One came up. Put it back in. This one came up. There we go. So just make sure that it stays. And these ones are quite big, so I'm going to make these a little bit smaller. You could have them bigger, or just, there we go. Okay. So there we go. Okay. Doesn't look amazing yet because it's not baked. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put them in the oven, and you have to put in the oven for 35 minutes. Okay. So you put in the oven, and once you take it out, you pour over the syrup, okay? And some people wait 2 hours to eat it. But if you're me, you eat it right away because it's delicious. But really, you're supposed to wait 2 hours for it to cool down and then and then eat it.
So
Okay?
in the oven for how long?
35 minutes
On 170.
on 170 or
Okay.
175 for people who don't have 1047s. Okay, so I'm going to put in the oven now. You guys, if you've made it with me, you can put in the oven now. And just so that it starts cooking. And don't put it on the highest shelf. Put it in like the middle shelf because you don't want to go straight on top so it doesn't burn, okay? And leave it open, don't cover it so it gets brownish. So when you see it like having this really nice brown look, obviously, then it's ready, okay? Don't burn it, just be careful. And
Louise said, do you have a finished product you can show them? Not yet.
I don't have a finished product. I wish I did. I should have had one, but I'm happy to post on Facebook in 35 minutes how it's going to look. You want to see that? I'm happy for you to see that. I can even show you a video of how it looks once it's done.
Okay, so once it comes out, then you got to heat that up again?
So once it comes out, okay, let me just show them how it looks. So you guys can see how it looks. Can you see how it looks? Can you see that? It's like a liquid, okay? So you just pour this over. You don't have to heat it up again. It's not supposed to be hot because the baklava is going to be hot. So you pour it over and then you could wait an hour or two or you could eat it right away.
Raquel wants to know, do you have to refrigerate it or can you?
You can refrigerate it, but I would suggest you eat it right away. You could also, you don't have to refrigerate it. If you see in the shops, they're not in the refrigerator. They're actually in a very tight container. So I would actually put it better in a container than in a refrigerator. But obviously if you want to keep it to last longer, then you put it in the fridge, but it doesn't need a fridge. You could just put it into a container or, like a bowl and you wrap it with
The top layer was 6 sheets as well, right?
Yeah, so the top layer, so it's again, one more time for those people who want to hear again. So it's 6 sheets, then 4, then 6. And again, after you put the 6 sheets, you put 4 tablespoons of the mixture. And then after the 4 sheets, you put in the rest, and then you put the 6 sheets on, and every other layer you put oil in. Any other questions? But I'm happy to post on Facebook
what it looks like,
so that you know how it looks, and I'll show you the top and I'll show you the inside.
and if they have, then
and if you guys made it with me or you want to make it tomorrow, please share on Facebook, message us,
tag us,
whatever you want. We're very excited to see how it came out, but I'm telling you, it's going to be delicious. So thank you so much.
Concert tomorrow night.
Thank you so much for coming on tonight, and just letting you know that tomorrow night is an amazing concert with Connie Goldman. He's an incredible musician he's not a musician.
He's a singer.
He's a singer. Sorry, guys.
Connie G.
He is Connie G, singer from South Africa, and he has an incredible voice. And definitely come tomorrow night at 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. Thank you so much. And if you guys have anything else that you'd like to learn how to bake, message us because I'd love to teach you more things.
Okay, we're going to end this live.
Have a good night.
1 second. We'll stop that.